All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Caitlin Bullard, and I am the principal of Discovery School.
Good morning, and I am the principal at Hopgood Elementary School. Thank you for being here today to learn more about Murfreesboro City Schools. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to share information about our schools with our community members that have invested so much in our schools. As a proud principal of Hopgood, I want to say how grateful I am for the community members' support and partnerships, such as our faith-based community members, our nonprofit organizations, and our, let me look at my notes, sorry, and our community leaders, our faith-based organizations, and our nonprofit organizations to our schools. I'm thrilled to see many of our elected officials as well as our community members here today. Lastly, I would like to thank our MCS Central Office staff members for being wired to the core. Thank you for supporting our students and our staff.
All right, it's a pleasure for me to introduce you this morning to some of the other principals here from Murfreesboro City Schools. I think you guys had a chance to meet them as you came in, but I'd like to introduce Christy Robinson, Sonia Cox, Emily Spencer, and of course our District Principal of the Year, Quinina Bell. If you're an MCS principal, please stand for me. These are some of the most dedicated individuals I know, and I'm proud to call them my colleagues and friends. We also have some of our school board members with us today, including Karen Dodd, Amanda Moore, and our liaison, Bill Shacklett. These board members support our district and have the opportunity to lead and support our staff. If you're a board member or a city council member, will you please stand? And most of all, I am thrilled to introduce you to some of my favorite people, the candidates for Student Council from Discovery School. So if they'll please join me at the front, we have Margaret Stewart, Nora Balul, Evelyn Strickland. We have Reese Gammon, Davis Taylor, Eden Obayami, Adam Hassan, Rebecca Lehman, Andrew Cushingham, and Dante Spitaleri. Let's give them a big thank you for greeting this morning. I am so thankful they were able to be with us on this big day. Without further ado, our students will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I am also very pleased to welcome to the podium Ms. Tasha Burnett and Ms. Zena Mosen. Ms. Burnett and Ms. Mosen are our current MCS Teachers of the Year, and they represent the hundreds of excellent educators who serve our schools each day.
Good morning. My name is Zena Mohsen, and I'm an English as a second language teacher at Kaiserland Academy. I am very honored and humbled to be here today. I feel humbled for having the opportunity to stand among a room filled with individuals who make a significant impact in our schools and community. I am honored to represent our Murfreesboro City School family, a family I am extremely proud to be a part of. I joined Murfreesboro City School in 2015, and since day one, I have been surrounded and supported by passionate educators who help me feel welcome and encourage me in my journey as an educator. I came to this country 18 years ago as an immigrant who was filled with hopes and dreams to accomplish what seemed to be the impossible at that time. I dreamed of becoming a teacher, and with my experiences as an immigrant and learning English, I knew that working with other English learners who were going through the same challenges and experiences I faced moving to a new country would only strengthen my compassion and knowledge as an educator. As an English as a second language teacher, I have the opportunity to see the growth and diversity in our schools and community. As we continue to grow more diverse each year, our district continues to excel in providing high-quality resources, curriculum, and training for our teachers, while providing a positive and a safe learning environment that builds upon student languages, cultures, academic strength, and diverse language and academic experiences. The Murfreesboro City School District mission is to assure academic and personal success for each child. The vision of Murfreesboro City reflects what we strive to do as educators, and I knew this would be the district I wanted to be a part of. I never looked back. I have been blessed to work at Murfreesboro City School because of our district continuous efforts into making sure all teachers and staff are supported, heard, valued, and equipped to provide rich learning experiences for all students. So I thank you for being here, for supporting our district, and helping us make sure that all of our students are able to grow personally and academically each and every day. Thank you.
Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and community partners, I stand before you today as a proud employee of Murfreesboro City Schools. I am blessed to have my dream career as an art teacher and an art education advocate. Teaching art is not just a job for me, but a calling that allows me to inspire the next generation of artists, creative thinkers, and dreamers. Teaching art in this district allows me to create a safe and inclusive space where students can express themselves authentically. Art has a power to transcend language barriers and cultural differences. The diversity of backgrounds and experiences that our students bring to my classroom enriches our learning environment every day and challenges me to be a more culturally responsive art educator. One of the main reasons I chose to make this district my home is the sense of community that we have built together. I have formed strong relationships with my fellow teachers, administrators, and staff members who keep supporting me every day. The collaborative spirit that exists within our district fosters a sense of unity and allows us to work together towards a common goal, providing MCS students with a quality education. As a young girl from Winchester, Tennessee, I never thought that I would be in the position I am today, District Teacher of the Year. Growing up in Franklin County, I yearned for an education full of rigor, diversity, culture, exposure to the arts, and so much more. The lack of this inspired me to follow my heart and make Murfreesboro, this beautiful city, my blank canvas. Thankfully, I had an amazing college experience at MTSU. The education program assigned me to the best mentor, Rita Myers, for my student teaching in 2013. The moment I entered John Pittard Elementary, I knew this city would be my home, and I knew the school would be my home. A small town girl with big ambitions to make Murfreesboro City Schools her safe space, and it still is 11 years later. I am honored to be an art teacher in this district, and am grateful for the opportunity to inspire creativity, passion, and innovation in my coworkers and our students. I truly believe that art teachers and art education rocks, and you can always catch me advocating for that every single day. Together, we can continue to cultivate a community of individuals who feel known, safe, challenged, and empowered. On behalf of all MCS educators, thank you so much for your support. We invite you to watch the following brief video that continues to highlight the work in our amazing schools.
Constantly reviewing data to make informed decisions.
In Murfreesboro City Schools, we believe that great schools make great.
There we go.
Mission is to assure the academic and personal success. Quality instructional materials and are provided with the resources needed to achieve at high levels. We are consistently reviewing data to make informed decisions, and we know that student learning is the priority. Math, Our educators and administrators are some of the most dedicated, hardworking professionals you will ever meet. So much so that over the past couple of years, they have received both state and national awards. Here are a few of those award winners explain to us why they call MCS home.
A reason I'm proud to work for City Schools is how the district empowers students by providing opportunities, equipment, and tools for them to try, fail, retry, and learn to succeed from those failures. In my case, it's providing instruments, but those tools are accessible across the district for our students so that they can be empowered to learn and grow.
I feel like it's been very apparent to me from the top down that there is definitely a push to grow our educators. We obviously want to grow our students, but I think that's only going to happen when we grow our educators. And I can definitely tell from Dr. Duke to our curriculum specialist to even my admin team that there's been a tremendous amount of support for me to grow professionally.
I'm proud to work in MCS because we're a district that sets students up for success. Students are at the center of everything we do. As a former educator and now as an instructional coach, I feel valued, empowered, and supported in the work that I do. There's no doubt in my mind that I work in the district with the very best educators and leaders who do the right work for kids every day.
In addition to having a strong foundation of academics and exceptional employees, we also pride ourselves with offering students a variety of robust learning experiences outside of the traditional classroom, from drama to robotics to farm to school. These are just a few programs that are in service to the mission of assuring the academic and personal success for each child.
She's gonna come to you. So
wait, I forgot to wash my hands.
Special therapy dogs are helping students learn to read in Tennessee. Here to help us more is Heather, a counselor at Northfield Elementary in Murfreesboro, and Cheryl, who trains the dogs and works with the students. We call them best in class.
So we have a lot of students who may have learning disabilities or need extra support just to be successful. And we saw the magic happen when kids would come out and read to the dogs. And it was just phenomenal. And the kids just loved it, the adults loved it, but we saw kids' confidence grow and then their reading abilities grow. We saw an increase in attendance.
Number 650 meter run.
In Murfreesboro City Schools, we believe that great schools make great communities, and that our city is better positioned for future success when our public schools are strong, successful, and focused on meeting the needs of all of our citizens. So whether it's through our academic success, our non-academic supports, or the unique learning opportunities that we provide, we are proud of the great work being done in our schools and for our students. This is good work, this is important work, and this is work that will help us ensure everyone associated with Murfreesboro City Schools is known, safe, challenged, and empowered.
Thank you. Thank you to our Miss Bell and to, give it just a second here. Let's see. There you go. So thank you to Miss Bell and Miss Bullard and our amazing students from Discovery School. Thank you so much. You're the reason that we get to do what we do every day. And to Sasha and Zena, and I can tell you, we have right at 830 certified teachers in this district. And I will tell you, Sasha and Zena are two of the best. And they're the best because they love their kids, they love their work, and they're incredibly passionate by making sure every child has a chance for a bright future. So thank you for representing all of our teachers here today. We're so proud of you. And have no doubt you're going to represent us well at the State Teacher of the Year competition. But we want to say thank you for coming today. Really, today is something we've now done. I think it's our third or our fourth one that we like to do every fall as an opportunity for us to say to our community, one, thank you for what you do, and to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what happens in these buildings that you drive by and may be stuck in their morning drop-off traffic. So if you're in that as well, next time you're sitting in a school zone going the speed limit, please make sure that you're thinking about the great things happening. But we want to give you a glimpse of where we are as we start this new year here in Murfreesboro City Schools and as a district together. You've heard several people mention it, and that is what our mission here in this district is. And our mission continues to be that we want to make sure everyone and every child in this district is assured both the academic and personal success that they can have. And what we talk about is really a guarantee. When we say we want to assure that academic and personal success, we want to guarantee it. Because we know, as you've heard me say many times before, the students from Discovery that are walking the halls today, the students in our schools are going to be the future community leaders here in Murfreesboro City, and we owe it to them and we owe it to our city to make sure that we have a really strong foundation for when all of us are no longer in these roles. And at the center of everything we do is our students. And that continues to be our mission and something we continue to focus on and value. But as we start this 24-25 school year, we wanted to update you on a little bit about what's happening in our district and specifically our numbers. So this year, once again, we have 13 schools that are operating across 15 campuses, which includes our newest Case and Lane pre-K building, which we were thrilled to open last year. We are right now sitting at right around 9,300 students that are enrolled in our district. That continues to make us the 20th largest district in the state of Tennessee out of 145 school districts. So we continue to be a very large district and a growing district as we continue to knock on the door of having almost 10,000 students that we're serving in our pre-K through 6th grade classrooms. As I mentioned, we're sitting at 800 certified instructional staff. Those are teachers, those are principals, those are speech language therapists, they're interventions, they're academic coaches that are working hard to meet the needs of our students. And as a district, we are now sitting at 2,000 total employees that work here in the Murfreesboro City School System, and we are so proud of all of them. And as we continue to grow, and as we continue to grow both in staff and in students, we want to keep that mission front and center and making sure that we're offering that personalized touch to our teachers so that they can impact our students. You've heard a lot, and Sasha talked about the diversity we have, and so did Zena here in our district. And our diversity is something we continue to watch, and is something that's really changed over the last few years, even since I took this role back in 2019. Of course, our schools, I always like to start there. Our smallest school is right around 350 students, and we have 3 elementary schools that are knocking on the door of 1,000 students each. And if you don't live inside the world of education, let me be clear and say 1,000 student elementary school is very large. That means you're looking at several hundred kindergartners. And so if you want to have a good time, spend your day with them. But the demographic makeup is really changing just like our community has. If you picked up a paper this morning, we actually ran that at the beginning of the school year, the first week of school, for an event we had. And the numbers you'll notice on the screen are actually different than the numbers on the paper. And that's because these are the numbers from our first reporting period. And we continue to show this year, as a district, we continue to become more and more diverse. You can see our makeup there, with 41% of our students being white, 25% black, over 20% Hispanic, 9% multiracial, and 3.5% Asian. Our Hispanic population is obviously a population that's growing rapidly. That number's increased pretty significantly in the last 2 years, which is why the work that Zena does in our ESL classrooms is so incredibly important. Because we know as more students come in who need those English as a second language services, it's assuring to us that we have excellent educators like Zena who are working every day to meet the needs of those students. From an economically disadvantaged standpoint, right now, roughly over half of the students in our district qualify for free and reduced lunch. If you compare that to the county school system as a whole, that's about 10 percentage points higher than the county school system when you look at that. We are blessed to say that in our district, every child, regardless of their school and regardless of their income, receives free breakfast and lunch every day. That's something our school nutrition, that's right, it's wonderful. So that's really the work of our school nutrition team to make sure that we can apply for those funds and we get those funds. 32% of our students are what we classify as direct certification, which means 1 out of every 3 students in our district is on some sort of government assistance that they're receiving from the state. And so we know that as we work with our students, it's not just those academic needs. We also know there's needs around the economy that we're trying to help them meet as well. And then finally, our English language learner population continues to grow. That number there is 16.5% of our students are classified as English language learners. Last November, that number was 14.7%. So you can see in less than a year, we've added almost 2% there when our students, which is around about 180 students. So we know that population continues to grow, again, which is why it's so important we're able to meet those needs of our students. 1 out of every 5 students in this district has a home language other than English, and we have a total of 48 languages that are currently spoken within our school system right here in Murfreesboro City. So as you can see, as I say all the time, we're an incredibly diverse district. We think that diversity is our strength, from the size of our schools to the demographic makeup of our students to their economic place that they have in life to their English language learners. All of those differences and that diversity really helps as a strength for us here in our city. And right now, as you also picked up, we are currently, believe it or not, 3 years into our 5-year strategic plan, which we launched back in 2022. And as we look at that 5-year plan, we are incredibly proud of the progress we've made. We'll talk about school safety because that's something that's always on everyone's mind here in a little bit. But from making sure we have mental health therapists in every school 5 days a week, which we are incredibly proud to be able to say we have, to making sure we have the best educators meeting our students' needs, to the academic achievement, our board's 5-year strategic plan, which has really been a shining light for us as we go, has really helped lead to some of these successes. And I encourage you to pick up our updated copy before you leave today so you have some light bedtime reading tonight, okay? A lot of fun. But really what I want to take the last few minutes to do today is to really update you on some major priorities and major focus areas that we're working on and we're proud of specifically for this year, 24-25. Of course, we're always going to be focused on academic achievement. We know at the end of the day, we have a job to do. And I've told our teachers before, the city council and our community doesn't fund schools so we have a job. They fund schools so that our students grow academically and they're better off than they were they came in. A huge focus for us for the last 4 years has specifically been around literacy and making sure that every child is prepared to read and engage in literacy activities at high levels. I like to say as a school district, it's probably the most significant job we have is to make sure that we are creating a community that is literate and can access high-level text and can read it at high levels. And I'm thrilled to say because of that work, for the 4th year in a row, we have seen increases in our literacy scores year over year. And that's incredibly important to me because if you go back a few slides, we're seeing those increases even as the demographics of our district begin to change and we're serving a higher percentage of historically underserved students. Yet we're still raising that literacy bar, and I'm incredibly proud of that work we're doing as we continue to do that. We are beating the state in literacy achievement, and we continue to beat the state in math achievement. Our students are performing at higher levels than public school students across the state, and that's because of the work of our teachers, of our principals, and our central office staff, and we're so proud to have those academic gains. Those academic gains are actually being noticed by people outside of our district. Just this month alone, we've had outside agencies come and ask to take a peek in what we're doing here in Murfreesboro City. So 2 weeks ago, SCORE, which is the largest state advocacy organization around school reform, which is chaired by former Senator Bill Frist, asked if they could come and spend the day in our schools. They brought with them 7 state legislators, not just from our area, but from legislators as far west as Shelby County and as far east as Washington County, to spend the day at our school to talk to our teachers, because they say, we see what you're doing in Murfreesboro City, and we're seeing how we can help replicate this in other areas. And we were incredibly proud to show off the work of our students and our teachers when SCORE came to visit. Last week, we were able to host 3 members of the State Board of Education who said the same thing. Multiple times throughout the year, they ask if they can spend what they call a day in the district, where they go to districts across the state to say, we want to see what's happening as we get ready to implement policy and rules that govern education. And we were thrilled to host those members of the State Board of Education for an entire day so they could hear from our principals, our teachers, our students, and see the work happening in our schools. But when I think about these visits, of course, Lisa Trail calls it our show and tells. I love to show and tell. But I really love to show and tell, because at the end of the day, what it says is other people outside of this city are saying great things are happening in this district, and how do we get this work to happen in other places throughout the state? And we like to lead the way. Not just with academic achievement, another priority we continue to have is around teacher retention. At the end of the day, we know we're only going to be as strong as the teachers we put in classrooms that are working with students every day. And this becomes a mission for us, especially if you've heard of the teacher shortage that is happening across the state and across the nation. So we take this idea of teacher retention really, really seriously. The ways we've done that is we continue to offer highly competitive pay and benefits. The governor passed a law a few years ago saying by 2026, the starting teacher salary had to be $50,000 across the state. I'm thrilled to say we hit that benchmark 2 years early, and our teachers are already making that benchmark of starting teacher pay out of college at $50,000. Also, with those competitive benefits, which has been a focus for us for 3 years now, to continue to address not just our pay, but our insurance, so that people that come to work in Murfreesboro City Schools says, we know we can support our families and we can live a good, strong life with the pay here in our district. We partner that with something I heard Zena speak on, which was that strong job-embedded curriculum development and professional development. We want our teachers to be the best trained teachers in the state of Tennessee. And I feel so far we have a pretty good track record of doing that, which is why we have those outside agencies come to look at what we're doing. We know that teachers want to grow, they want to be developed, and we're very serious about doing that job and doing it really, really well. And finally, we want multiple opportunities for feedback. We know at the end of the day, I'm not going to teach one child this year. Right? My central office team is not going to sit across the table from one child. It's going to be our teachers who are closest to the work, and we want them to be able to provide that feedback to us on a regular basis. Here's some of the feedback they sent to the state on an anonymous state survey that the state sends out to every teacher in the state of Tennessee. And they sent this back to us. And when I read comments like this from our teachers, I know we're going in the right direction. Because when our teachers feel supported, when our teachers feel valued, when our teachers feel heard, they're going to make a better experience for our students, and our students are going to grow academically. And we're so proud of the work of our teachers. So we want to have really strong academic achievement. We want to make sure this year we're really supporting our teachers and making sure we're retaining the best. And finally, we want to make sure that we have that operational efficiency. At the end of the day, we have a really large budget. Our GP budget is about $125 million, which doesn't include roughly about another $20 million in federal funds. That's taxpayer money. And we as a school system want to make sure that our taxpayers get a return on their investment. We want our taxpayer to feel good about the property taxes they're paying, about the taxes, their sales tax that's going toward our school because of the work we're doing. So whether it's from our budget to our transportation system to school safety, we want to make sure we're operating efficiently and with excellence. Some of those priorities this year is we're going to continue to make sure that we're maximizing and utilizing the space in our current buildings. That's becoming more and more difficult as we continue to grow. But we've made a commitment to say we're going to make sure every piece of space in our building is being used so our taxpayers know that we're not wasting any of the resources we have. We want to make sure we're doing ongoing maintenance and building improvements, and I appreciate Mr. Barch, who's our new assistant superintendent over this work, who's done a fantastic job in leading this. The average age of our schools is 41 years. So I'll ask how many of you went to Mitchell Nelson. Probably more hands than I care to say would go up. But the average age of our schools is 41 years old, which means a lot of our money goes to things like roof, ceilings, HVACs, things that I say aren't a whole lot of fun. So we've really tried to balance over the last few years this making sure that our structures are safe with some of those more fun items as well. Whether it's the brand new playground that we just opened at Mitchell Nelson Elementary School, whether it's now at the end of this year, all 5 of our tennis courts will have been resurfaced, whether it's our cafeteria redesigns, or what we're most excited about, the groundbreaking on Reeves Rogers, which will be finished at the end of next year. We're really investing our money well, prioritizing where it's spent because we know those funds are limited. And finally, when we think of operational priorities, we want to make sure that we have a safe and secure environment on every campus. I say all the time, our parents are sending us their children because they want them to learn reading and math. But we also know that more than that, at the end of the day, they want them to come home on the bus they put them on. So we know safety is a huge priority for the board. We laid out 2 years ago a 3-year plan to help secure our buildings and to make sure that access control was something that we were paying attention to. Through some grant dollars and through some rebudgeting on our part, I'm thrilled to say we finished that 3-year plan in a year. And again, that's because we take it seriously and we feel very good, not just on our secure access, but our partnership with Murfreesboro Police Department, who provides an SRO on every campus every day. You will not walk in our schools without seeing an SRO, which that alone is that deterrent that we know is going to help keep our students safe. So this year, that's kind of what we're focused on. Our enrollment's growing, our demographics are changing, but through it all, we're going to make sure that we're focused on academic achievement for our students, retaining the best employees that we have, retaining those highly effective teachers, and making sure that operationally we are using taxpayer dollars well, we're using them responsibly, and we're providing great spaces for our students. Our theme this year in the district comes from a Latin phrase. I read a book and it stuck with me. And he uses a Latin term, and the term is called quantuvus, right? Quantuvus. And there's not a translation into English from this Latin word. But what it roughly translates to is as great as you choose. And that's really been our theme this year. We know we have the tools we need to do the work for kids. And so this year, our theme is quantuvus, which means we are choosing to be great. We are choosing to be great for our students. We are choosing to be great for our community. We are choosing to be great for our staff because they deserve it, because our city deserves it, and because we know at the end of the day, the stronger our public schools are, the stronger our city will be, and we all have a piece to play in that, whether or not we have kids in our public education system. So I want to say thank you for coming today. Please grab some of the handouts we have, talk to some of our students, talk to our district office staff that's here. Let us help answer those questions so we can make sure you can walk away knowing that there are great things happening in every one of our 15 campuses and great things to come. So with that, Lisa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yep, look like it should be easy. Okay, so we're going to take time just for some questions and answers from you guys. But right now, if I could get Mr. Rocha and Mr. Barch and Dr. Johnson. Is that our panel?
Yes.
That's our panel. And we may call on you from the seat, so be ready. So there's a lot of information that Dr. Duke shared today, so be thinking. I'm going to start with the first question, but y'all be thinking about the second and third question, and we'll get that in. We'll see who can answer. So making sure that our folks, you stand out a little bit so the TV will not want that light in your face. So I'm going to start out with Dr. Duke. I'm going to give you a softball to start with. Okay. So we're 9,300 students strong. So how does that compare to last year?
Yeah, great question. And let me quickly, for those that don't know, Ken Rocha, Assistant Superintendent over student supports, handles all of our attendance, mental health, all the things that are student-centered that are not academics. Don Barge, Assistant Superintendent of School Operations. Everything it takes to make a school system run, Don handles. And then Maria Johnson, who's our Director of Human Resources and Educator Effectiveness, making sure we have the best educators every day. So we are at 9,300 students. How does that compare to last year? Actually, it's very consistent to where we ended the year last year. So we're sitting right at about 40 less students than this time last year, about 100 less than where we ended. That's really interesting for us because we are typically used to growing about 2% every year. So for us to have a year where our enrollment hasn't changed has been something we're kind of taking it back and saying, oh, wow, let's soak in this for a minute. I think there's a couple things that we can point that to. I've talked to Dr. Sullivan in the county schools, and their elementary is seeing a very similar trend this year with not a whole lot of growth at the elementary level. We have a lot of theories around that. I will say for the second year in a row, our kindergarten numbers are lower, which makes me think about, are we just having less children? And are we seeing that? We know with home prices and the cost of raising a family here in Middle Tennessee, that also is playing into it. So we are right now looking very consistent to where we ended last year. I will say, though, one of the big trends we saw last year is we actually didn't see growth in our district until around October. And from October until February, we had a huge influx of students, and we met that 2.1% growth during the year, not before the year. So that's very different from us. So we're watching that trend as well. But I think some of the typical moving over the summer isn't happening as much as it used to.
Okay. I'm going behind here. Ms. Averwater, did you have a question? This is not going to be the softball, okay?
That's right.
No, I'll save my hard balls for email later, Dr. Duke. Well, I think on behalf of the Murfreesboro City Council, we'd like to say thank you to Dr. Duke, to the staff and the administration and all our wonderful teachers in the room. Having just departed a campaign season, you give us all something to brag on. So thank you for your hard work. I do have a couple of questions. So you answered how many SROs we have in each school right now, which is great. Do we see a need for additional SROs in some or all of our schools? And is there a goal we need to work toward with that? I know the last few weeks have been particularly sensitive in our local school systems. And so I guess my question is, how can council prepare to support you all and foster that relationship between you and MPD to make sure our students are safe?
Well, I think, and I can't thank the chief enough, because after the Uvalde shooting, we sat down and we met, and he made a commitment at that table, and he said, we're going to make sure that there's an SRO in every building every day, which means at times I'll see sergeants and lieutenants serving as SROs in our building, because our SROs get sick. They have vacation days. They go out of town, just like teachers do. And it's so important that we have them in there. So I think I will leave the specifics of what's needed to the chief and to Captain Fanning and to his team. But I will say that I know this year, I think, and I see Lieutenant Gerald back there, we've added a couple floaters this year. Am I correct? Yeah, I know we've added a couple floaters to help cover that, and that's incredibly important so that we have, when those SROs are out, we know, and our parents see that police car sitting in front of our school every day. Don, I don't know if you want to add to that?
I do know that there's a lot of conversations going on to address more growth with MPD. I know they have some plans to increase those numbers of SROs once the funding comes through, or staffing is the numbers of police to serve those positions. So there's always a whole lot of behind the scenes conversations that continue to go on. Andy Taylor, our safety and security supervisor, does a fantastic job, is on a great bridge with MPD and for us. And so that growth is continuing and always addressing different needs.
And then I can add, our SROs, it's not just about safety, it's really about learning, because and I think our principals in the room will tell you this, When we have an SRO in that building, they can focus on student learning. And when we don't have SROs in that building, they're focused on parents, maybe security issues that's taking them away from learning. So even though their goal is to provide safety and security for our students, they are directly impact student learning by letting our principals do their job.
Thank you. Dr. Johnson, I'm going to throw it to you, and I'll come right to you. Can you just talk about how we're getting teachers in the classrooms? Dr. Duke addressed that a little bit on teacher shortage, but yeah.
Fortunately, in Murfreesboro City Schools, we have been able to successfully fill our positions throughout the year. Yes, we have had some shortages for the number of applicants that we normally have, but we fortunately have had retired teachers that have come back and have worked in those classrooms. We've also worked with MTSU to do clinical practice permits for some of our residency 2 students, as well as also we have community members that have Bachelor of Science, and we've been able to apply for a teaching permit through the Tennessee Department of Education. And those that are on our teaching permits, Murfreesboro City Schools has worked to provide differentiated supports for them throughout the year, from school-based supports to district-based supports, weekly, daily, monthly supports, and individualized, just like we do with our students, just to ensure that they are successful. Because if they are successful, students will be successful.
And to put that to a number, roughly 23% of our new hires, of those that are just starting with us in the district as a classroom teacher this year, 23% of those are on some type of teaching permit, which is actually better than the state. So that number sounds high, but the state has really opened up a ton of doors for teachers, for people with Bachelor's of Science degrees, for our residency students to get into the classroom earlier, and we've seen a lot of success with that. Partly because, as Ms. Johnson said, she really differentiates those supports, those that are coming from a college of education versus those that are not.
Okay, Mr. Shacklet had a question.
Thank you. And again, thank you for all the work that you do on a daily basis. It's really encouraging to hear the state and the positive state of our city schools. But the question, we all realize that for learning to occur, we've got to have the children in their seats. So I'd like for you to speak to where the numbers have been as far as absenteeism and retention of students in seats, and what are we doing to address that particular issue?
Okay, so there's a number of different pieces to that puzzle. So I think the first is looking at our chronic absentee rate. We know that by numbers over the last 3 years, we've decreased that. So schools are looking at school-wide incentives. They're looking at things that are communication in meetings, talking with families. So that begins with a universal support of talking about what do families need to get into school? What are things that can incentivize potentially, whether it's home needs, whether it's family support or community resources. When they get to a point of having 10 days that are truant, that are unexcused, we have a tier 2 and tier 3 meeting. That takes place, and we really talk about those additional supports. So it starts with the school, has a school team, and then Lauren Bush and myself meet with some of our juvenile team to really talk about what are those additional supports families might need. Might be a car, might need, they're working third shift. So what are things that we can do to help them? Might be assistance with rent. It could be some family counseling that's there. So those are the types of things we have conversations about. Our truancy rate as well has decreased, and I think it's a matter of making sure that we're known. So when we talk to our students and we're making sure that they're there each day, we're calling, we're recognizing where they are. We realize that when they're not in the classroom, it's a missed opportunity, it's a missed gift. We want their participation, and it's focusing on the positive, that when they're there, they're more prepared and they have better opportunities in the future.
And if I can add to that, I think it's really important because what Mr. Rocha does, and I see Dr. Hill back here as well, who works with our Title I schools, is really when we talk about attendance, their attitude is always about support. We don't come from this idea and this standpoint that we think families are just keeping kids at home because they don't want them to be at school. We think there's a barrier there. And so what Ken does and what Miriam does with their team is really say, what are those barriers that we can address? So is it we need some temporary housing? Is it we need to help set them up with some outside services for counseling? Is it they need some kind of additional supports? And when you take that model, you see what we've seen, which is for the last 3 years, those numbers continue to go down. One of the populations that continues to grow here in our district is they're classified as McKinney-Vento students, which are students who don't have a permanent nighttime residency. or sometimes they're referred to as unhoused students or homeless students. Last year, we ended the year with over 500 unhoused students in our district. That number grew 49%, right? So we know that, again, the needs of our community are different, they're changing, and we have to respond so that we can make sure they're getting what they need.
Okay, last question, because we promised that it's going to be an hour long. The next to the last question, so answer this one quicker. I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
What you're sitting here with a bunch of people who are just supporting us all the time, community support, our faith-based support we mentioned earlier. What can they do to help?
So I'll start and then I'll turn it to the team. The first thing I'll say is, I think sometimes, especially in a presidential election season, public schools sometimes don't always get the best rap. And there's sometimes some things that are said that really just aren't true. Here's what I like to remind our community, which is when we think about the teachers in our district, when we think about those leading our school systems, they are the people of our community. It is our community that are leading our schools with our community values, with our community goals that are leading our schools. And so what I want you to know, and what you can do to really support us, is to first know that there are great things happening in Murfreesboro City Schools. We are super proud of the work that we're doing. Our kids are growing academically. Our families are more engaged. Our families are getting support. Great things are happening in our schools, and that's because we have teachers in this community who are dedicated to them. So the first thing I'll say is it helps us when you can help share our message that are the great things happening. And I'll turn it over to you guys. Anything you want to add?
I'll just say, as far as recruitment, we most definitely need our community to continue that pipeline of the future educators. So far faith-based organizations, for our colleges, again, just making them aware of what we're doing in Murfreesboro City Schools. And when we have those parents that are at home, or we have those retired community members and leaders, just reminding them that Murfreesboro City Schools, what we're doing, and that we would love to have them join our team.
All right, I'm going to give it to
Thank you. I want to say congratulations and thank you so much. When I was educated in the Murfreesboro City Schools as a baby, kindergartner, and I thought the district was the best in the world. One reason was that my mother, Mary Scales, was a teacher and she was a perfectionist. And I learned a lot, but you all have definitely taken it up to the next level. And we are so proud of you as a community. One concern I have, I think about a lot. Do we have an increase in mental illness in our schools today, like depression, kids just wrestling with home situations? Do you see an increase in that?
I think we have seen, especially coming out of COVID, an increase in students who need supports for mental health. And what we know is if our goal is to teach students how to read and how to do math, we've got to address those barriers, and sometimes those barriers are mental health associated barriers, which is why we have made that commitment, and the board laid out in their 5-year plan, again, that we would have a full-time mental health counselor in every school 5 days a week, and I am so thrilled that we met that this year, well before our 2027 goal. And so we're really excited about that. That's through strong partnerships of like Volunteer Behavioral Health, Centerstone, STARS. But from a district level, we employ 5 of those ourselves. So we're putting our money there to help make sure we have those resources that we need. So we want to make sure that every child and every family, because sometimes it's not just children, sometimes it's the family that needs that support, has access to those mental health services so that they can access their learning. I do think as a community, it's something, and my team is tired of hearing me talk about this, but you brought it up, so I'm going to have to say it. There's a great book, if you hadn't read it, Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation. I would encourage you to put it on your reading list to talk about how the children of our nation is changing and has changed over the last few years as we think about the introduction of smartphones and of more screen time and really the changes that are happening in our students. So I'd encourage you to pick up that book, but we know we want to respond to that, so we're trying to be incredibly proactive to help meet with those behavioral needs. The other thing I'll say, we added our board last year, employed what we call CALM coaches, which is really a behavior interventionist that we've put at every school, again, to help address some of these behaviors so that teachers can focus on academics.
Okay, thank you so much. If you actually got this agenda when you walked in the door, there is a QR code on it. You guys can Have a seat. Thank you. So we would love to have your feedback. It's also a great opportunity for you to ask us questions that maybe we didn't address today. I do want to take time, just one more time, to recognize Zena and Sasha, Quinina and Caitlin. They are used to speaking in front of children, so this had to be a little bit eye-opening to see adults looking back at them. So thank you all for starting us out on the right foot today. If you have questions, Dr. Duke's going to stay around. Our senior leadership team will be here if you have questions, but we so appreciate it, and if we can ever help you, let us know. So thank you.